get it out there, because done is better than perfect, and it ain't all that. When you make those decisions, you think through them, and then take action. Be smart about it, follow it through. But remember that it is gonna be scary, but you gotta take action anyway, all right? And that is scary. It's one of those things. But again, it's because you care that it's scary. And so you gotta get over that fear. And that's what I ended up calling my book, Get Over It, right? Because that's what we gotta do. We gotta get over it. Can you repeat it after me? What are you gonna do when you feel fear? Right? You hear Zertog squawking. What are you gonna say? Thank you, get over it. Feel that fear and do it anyway. Take that action and go. Because this is what's gonna make you impactful in this world. I could have sat behind that desk in New York City and been perfectly happy making a lot of money, but I wouldn't have been perfectly happy. And I wasn't doing my best work. I made $3,000 in 2015. That's all. As you all know, that's not much. Thank goodness I was living with my parents. But I was happier that year, doing better work, innovating, excited to get out of bed. And that's the key, and that's what you've got to do. And you got to know, when you're making these decisions, you do not have to do it alone. And that's a key thing to remember. You guys are brilliant being here. You are building a lifelong network. FBLA, Seth was telling me back there at the sound, he was telling me Jane was an FBLA member when she was young. She's running this show, the AV team. You're making networking connections with people that you're gonna have your whole life, which is awesome, because you don't have to do it alone. Don't think that you've got to walk into these situations by yourself and know how to do it. Use your network. And I learned this when I was 9 years old. We were hiking in Nepal in the Himalayas. Now, just to be clear, I lived overseas when I was young because my dad worked for Marriott Hotels. So we lived in Saudi Arabia, we lived in Egypt. So when you live in Egypt and Saudi Arabia, you don't go to Disney World in Florida, you go to Nepal because it's closer. So we're hiking in the Himalayas, and on our third night, it poured. It rained so hard. So the next morning, as I'm putting on my hiking boots and coming out of this thatch hut that we stayed in, I was like, it's gonna be a mess today. But I walked out, it wasn't so bad, it wasn't too muddy. So we start hiking, we're about an hour in, and we come to this river. And it is raging, and it's angry, and it's broiling, and just whoosh, all the water that had come out of the sky was in this river. And so I'm looking at it, and I realize there's a bridge, but it's under the water. And so I turned back to Santee, who was our guide, and I said, Santee, where are we going? And he was talking to the Sherpa at the time, who put down his bag and went running, jogging up the road. And Santee turned to me and he said, Miss Ann, we're going that way. And I looked at the river, and I looked at Santee, and I said, nuh-uh. And my dad came over, type A hotel manager, problem solver guy. He comes over, he's like, Santee, we gotta solve this, we gotta get across this river. Is there another bridge? And Santee says, well, Mr. Al, there is another bridge, but it's 20 kilometers up the road, and once we get across, we're going the other way, so that's not gonna work. But that's not gonna work. Well, we need a boat. And Santee said, well, Mr. Al, there is a boat, but it's at the village on the other side of the river. So that's not gonna work. And my dad's sitting here, he's been in Nepal for 3 days, and he's trying to solve this mountain problem with this mountain guide from Nepal. Like, my dad's like, I got this, right? He's like, I need a rope. I'm like, good God, he's gonna kill us. So I'm walking up the pathway and kicking rocks, like, this is gonna take a while for my dad to figure this out. And I suddenly noticed the Sherpa coming back down the road with 2 people from the village and 2 big, wrinkly gray elephants. And I went, oh, because I love animals, right? Oh, and I look at Santee and I'm like, oh, and he says, yes, Miss Annie, here's your bridge. And we get to ride those elephants across the river. The elephants are like, yeah, it ain't nothing, I'm good. And we got across and we kept going. Now, had we tried to figure that out ourselves, we would never have come up with, hey, let's go get a couple of elephants. Like, we don't do that. But because we went with the expert, we asked him, what do we do? He had an answer that we wouldn't have thought of. So make sure you're taking action and using your resources. You don't have to have the answers.